a septic tank, 3 Guyanese, and a ransom. That's a recipe for murder. Guyanese Jainarang Persad moves from Guyana to Trinidad in 1979 to seek employment. He befriends Trinidadian Ashton Ramkalawansing, an accountant with Industrial Gases Limited. At the beginning of 1985, they started a shoemaking business out of Persad's Mirage Street apartment in Tunapuna. Persad employs fellow Guyanese Diolal Sukram and Gurjadat Siupersad to help make the shoes, while 31-year-old Trinidadian Ramkalawansing markets the business. However, according to Persad's version, by the middle of March 1985, Persad said he and his Guyanese team would have to stop production because although they were delivering on their orders, they were not being paid by Ramkalawansing. On March 31st, Persad was home alone and Ramkalawansing came by. He told Persad he needed to start back production because of the high value of orders he had outstanding. Persad reiterated that he had staff to pay, so could not start back until they were paid, and asked to see the accounts. Ramkalawansing became irate and threatened to have Persad and his Guyanese team deported. Persad revealed to the Trinidadian that he was aware he had received 2 checks from a reputable shoe repair business. These words sparked a rage in the Trinidadian, and he attacked the Guyanese. Persad, the Guyanese, hand fell on a piece of wood as he was being manhandled. He struck the Trinidadian on his head. Ramkalawansing collapsed as blood drained from his head. His body was motionless. Persad thought he was dead, but he still shook him in hope. He got a towel and wrapped Ramkalawansing's head, either out of shame or in the unlikely case that he was still alive. He took Ramkalawansing's car and headed to Curep. Persad went to Alice Street, where Sukram and Gurjadat were staying. He told the two something had happened at his Mirage Street apartment and demanded they come with him. It wasn't until he had dragged them back to his apartment and they were standing over Ramkalawansing's bloody and lifeless body that he filled them in on the events of the last hour. Persad asked them for help to dispose of the body in the cesspit behind the apartment and to clean up the apartment. The other 2 men returned to their Alice Street Curep house. So we saw Persad's actions move from standing up to a bully to self-defense, all the way to an outright cowardly act of hiding a body. But it is what he did next that truly took him beyond the point of no return. Persad drove Ramkalawansing's car to the airport and inquired about flights to Guyana. He left the car at the airport and took a taxi back to Alice Street Curep, and it was there things got diabolical. He instructed Sukram to write a ransom note to Ramkalawansing's parents, demanding 100,000 Trinidad and Tobago dollars. Persad explained they needed to do this because Ramkalawansing owed them so much money. He directed Gurjadat to drop the ransom note at the Ramkalawansing Don Miguel Extension Road home in San Juan. They also agreed to meet at the airport on April 2nd at about 4 a.m. whether they had collected the ransom money or not. 6 a.m. on April 1st, the morning after the incident, Ramkalawansing's mother finds the ransom note at her back door. His mother immediately breaks down. Ramkalawansing's father withdrew $10,000 from the Val Park branch of Bank of Commerce. Then the family started to cut up newspaper to the size of $100 bills. However, later that day, Ramkalawansing's father was able to get a $90,000 loan from Royal Bank. The family recorded as many of the serial numbers as they could have in the time before the ransom delivery in a garbage bin at Curep Junction early that same afternoon. Ramkalawansing was supposed to be released by 7 p.m. April 1st, but of course that was impossible because the corpse of their beloved son and brother was rotting in the dark, dank, putrid septic tank. Ramkalawansing would never return home. But Persad did retrieve the ransom money from the bin around 5 p.m. that afternoon. And as they had agreed, the 3 men and Persad's family were on an ALM flight to Guyana by 6 a.m. April 2nd. 3 hours later, Persad declared over 50,000 Trinidad and Tobago dollars at Guyanese customs. This stood out to the customs officer at the then Tamari International Airport, as Guyanese banks did not accept Trinidad and Tobago dollars. However, in 1985, there was no limit to the amount you could bring in, so no extra checks were required. After they had safely made their way through the airport, they divided up the money some more, but Persad kept some of Sukram's and Gurjadat's share to change for them. 9 days later, April 11th, 1985, all three men were arrested in Guyana at the request of Trinidad and Tobago police. Sukram and Gujarat were arrested in a car together. Pusad was arrested in the lobby of a hotel where he was checked in under a different name. All three men had considerable amounts of Trinidad and Tobago dollars in their possession. On April 12th, back in Trinidad, a strong stench is emanating from the cesspit of Pusad's Mirage Street, Tunapuna apartment. Ram Kalawan Singh's rotten corpse is discovered inside. He has to be identified by clothing and dental records due to decomposition. But weirdly enough, the body had been found with a plastic bag over its head, which differs to Pusad's version. What if it wasn't an accident? And it's at this turn the story becomes more sinister. According to Sukram's version, nothing was an accident. Everything and everyone had been executed accordingly. The three men had planned to murder Ram Kalawan Singh and then demand a ransom from his parents for their dead son. Let's revisit March 31st, 1985, Mirage Street, Tunapuna. The three wait at Pusad's apartment to spring their deadly trap on Ram Kalawan Singh. As he entered the apartment, the three men begin to argue with him. About 15 minutes into the argument, Pusad grabbed Ram Kalawan Singh's neck while Gujarat grabbed his feet. At this point, Sukram ran into the bedroom to retrieve a 2-foot piece of wood, and as Ram Kalawan Singh fought for his life, Sukram crashed the wood down twice on his skull, shattering it. Ram Kalawan Singh slumped to the floor but was still alive. Pusad got on top of him and choked him until they were satisfied he was dead. They then dumped the body in the cesspit as planned. It is believed Ram Kalawan Singh was still alive at this point, but would succumb to his injuries in the lonely, dark tank. He died without ever fully understanding the evil and jealousy that stirred in the hearts of the three murderers he called friends. In April of 1985, less than 2 weeks after the trio had bludgeoned the life out of Ram Kalawan Singh, they sit together at a table in a Guyanese police station, each trying to give their version before the two other co-accused. Pusad tried to convince the police and eventually the courts of his version, the one where he claimed self-defense, but his story neither matched that of the others nor the evidence. Although on the surface, Pusad's version seemed to have some honor, as he explained the other two had nothing to do with the killing and only followed his instructions with dumping of the body because they depended on him financially. But that version was an attempt to prove there was no plan to murder, which would really be about saving himself. It would also raise questions about jumping in a dead man's car, driving back and forth just to get help to move a body a couple feet. Guyana and Trinidad's police worked feverishly to get the killers extradited to face the Trinidad and Tobago courts. By June 26th, the trio were back in Trinidad. Prosecution was led by the legendary Gladys Gaffur and supported by Mark Mohammed and future President of the Republic, Anthony Carmona. Claims of torture and force were spewed from the accused towards the Guyanese police as they had conducted the initial interviews and acquired the confessions. However, in January 1988, the trio responsible for the second kidnapping for ransom in Trinidad's recent history was sentenced to hang by the neck until dead for the murder of Ashton Ram Kalawan Singh. The jury only deliberated for 90 minutes to come up with their guilty verdict, knowing fully well how this affected the life expectancy of the three murderers. Pusad was deemed the architect of the crime. Of course, Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Ram Kalawan Singh's family, are eternally grateful to our brothers and sisters in Guyana for facilitating justice. And with their new gigantic hydrocarbon find, we hope they are able to learn from Trinidad's mistakes and ensure the wealth is not only for the wealthy. Be sure to subscribe for more Caribbean crime documentaries. 1060 Crimes, Small Caribbean, Big Crime.